it's a great time for a Sunday school lesson. But once again, I find myself with a little background noise. One of my neighbors is mowing their grass. I'm going to try to teach through it. I hope everything goes okay. Again, it's a great day. Now, to remind you, Riley Road is having in-person Sunday school starting at 9:30. Riley Road Baptist Church is in Henderson on Riley Road. Most people are familiar with Bear Pond Market. If they don't know anything else about Riley Road, we are right across the street. So I'd invite you to come. And you can stop the video if you're going to come, because you'll hear most of this twice if you do. But our lesson today is, of course, redemption found. Believers can trust God to be faithful to them. That is the most profound statement in the world, especially studying Job. Now, today we're Job 19 through 29. And our opening statement is a discussion about the fact that you don't have to be alone to be lonely. Sometimes in your life it's a time that your friends just are downers. They bring you down. We can be surrounded by people and not feel connected to them. Have you ever been sitting at a table that you count as being with people that are your friends, and you just feel totally ignored? So Job in this situation is feeling that sting of abandonment. We're going to go into it in a little bit more detail. Now, Job realized that even though his friends had abandoned him, the Lord never would. Now, the wonderful thing is, our context this morning is actually a pretty big piece of Scripture. It's Job 15, 1 through 21:34. Now, this is the second cycle of dialogues between Job and his friends. In Job 15, 2 through 3, Eliphaz accused Job of abandoning his faithful devotion to God, and that hindered his prayers. Eliphaz actually accused Job of arrogance and hypocrisy. Now, again, these are not the best of friends for Job to have. Now, while Job is lamenting on his suffering, he revealed his hope in an advocate and mediator who would stand up for him before God. Now, in Job 18, 1 through 21, Bildad's response to Job was an angry verbal assault, restating the principle that good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. Now, that's not the case. But in this time, Bildad is pushing, Job, if you would have been good, good things would have happened. You must have been bad. Now, in Job 20, 1 through 29, Zophar stated that he was upset. What Job said was insulting to Zophar and his claim to wisdom. And Zophar argued that no matter how wealthy and successful the wicked may be, their health and prosperity will be short-lived and will eventually come crashing down. Now, Job has declared that his Redeemer lives. So we've gotten into this wonderful place in the Scripture, and Job's response dismantled his friend's simple notions of the retribution principle, because the wicked do not always suffer and the righteous often do. So let's get into our first scripture this morning. Failing friends. How many times have we had friends that have failed us? Now, the scripture passage is Job 19 through 22. Now I'm going to go through this kind of verse by verse so that we'll have an understanding of how this goes. But the first verse, verse 19 says, all of my best friends despise me, and those I love have turned against me. How awful that would be to feel like everybody that loves you, everybody that you love has turned against you. But Job says, my skin and my flesh cling to my bones. I have escaped with only the skin of my teeth. Have you ever wondered where that phrase came from? Well, it's straight out of Scripture, from the book of Job. I escaped by the skin of my teeth. Now we realize there is no skin on your teeth, but Job is hanging on. His body is withering away. He's probably not eating properly. Verses 21 and 22, have mercy on me, my friends, have mercy, for God's hand has struck me. Why do you persecute me as God does? Will you never get enough of my flesh? Now, Satan must have been laughing at the time that Job is saying this. Job is saying, have mercy on me, my friends, because God has done this to me. Now, Job doesn't understand why it's happened to him, because, quite frankly, he did nothing wrong. He was a very uprighteous man, and now he feels as if God's hand has struck him down. So he's saying to his friends, why are you persecuting me just like God does? You know, will you never get enough of my flesh? Now, I've had a few times in my life that I've had some friends that just ridiculed me, picked on me, saw what I was going through in my life, and really, I just wanted to tell them, shut up. This is another one of those times that was very difficult. I cannot even imagine what Job was going through at this time. To have friends tormenting him, to have lost everything. I just can't get my brain into that frame of mind. And that leads us into our next scripture, living Redeemer, Job 19:23 through 27. I wish that my words were written down, that they were recorded on a scroll, or inscribed in stone forever by an iron stylus and lead. Have you ever wondered why Job is the oldest book in the Bible? Well, here's why. He is wishing, praying that his story would be written down, that it would be written by an iron stylus and lead. How wonderful. You know, as we study Scripture, we are finding older and older manuscripts. We're finding that in Genesis, we're getting tradition that's not only oral but written being passed down. So Job is asking that his story be written down. But then we get into this wonderful thing where Job's attitude had changed. And he says in verse 25, but I know that my Redeemer lives, and at the end he will sit on the dust. When Job has become nothing but a pile of dust, his Redeemer will still be living. Even after, verse 26, even after my skin has been destroyed, yet I will see God in my flesh. I will see him myself. My eyes will look at him, and not as a stranger. My heart longs within me. Oh my gracious, to have that much faith that no matter what you're going through, even if God takes your body away, that you'll stand and see your Redeemer face to face, not as a stranger. Job had this. He had it down pat. I'm going to see my Redeemer, and that it will not be as a stranger. So Job is starting to come around. He's starting to realize that there is a testimony, so to speak, in this test. It's a great thing. We get this story, a real story of a real man who's being ridiculed by his friends and being told that he must have done something wicked. And he's looking back at the world and saying, I know my Redeemer lives. And when my body is nothing but dust, my Redeemer will still be alive. That is just the most wonderful testimony from a man. I know my Redeemer lives. So now we get to our last scripture. If you say, how will we pursue him, since the root of the problem lies with him, then be afraid of the sword, because wrath brings punishment by the sword, so that you may know there is a judgment. Job is warning his friends that they are going to be judged by the same standards that they are judging him. So he's telling them, be afraid of the sword. Wrath brings punishment by the sword, so that you may know there is a judgment. Now, I've kind of done this lesson a little bit shorter, just because it's been one of those days. There's been several times that I've done like I did last week in Sunday school. I actually said the word Moses instead of Job several times. You probably noticed one. I just went back and corrected the audio. Didn't even fix the video part of it. But how do we apply this text? People enduring hardships need each other to show compassion to them. It's not up to us to judge. Listen, I've been going through a lot in my life. I think and I pray that I'm living and doing everything that God asked me to do. Am I a perfectly righteous man? Absolutely not. But sometimes good people go through bad things. And the opposite side of that is sometimes bad people go through good things. The second application of this text is that believers can live with confidence in God's redemption. Now, in a few minutes, we're going to do a video entitled, I Know My Redeemer Lives. Love this song. I know that I know that I know that I know my Redeemer lives. Now, the last application is believers can lovingly warn others of God's judgment to be faced by all. Now, it's kind of hard when somebody says, do you believe in hell? Now, I listen to the Billy Graham channel from time to time on the radio. And I'm driving home from work, and I'm listening to an old Billy Graham sermon. And Billy is telling the story, or Reverend Graham is telling the story of how he and Cliff Barrows were sharing a hotel room. Can you imagine that? Somebody as famous as Billy Graham sharing a hotel room? Sharing a hotel room, and a young person coming in and telling them that he didn't appreciate the fact that Billy had talked about, or Reverend Graham had talked about the fact that there was a hell, that he just didn't believe in it. And the story that Billy Graham told was, I asked a young man, if you went to the airport and you were told that there was a 10% chance that your plane was going to crash, would you get on that plane? Of course, the person said, I'll have to think about that. Well, Billy Graham said, are you 100% sure that there is no hell? Scripture shows it. And then, of course, he opened up the Bible to the young man. And then, so if you're not 100% sure, would you want to go into eternity facing hell? Well, yes. There is a hell. And we need to be lovingly reaching out to those around us to tell them they don't have to go there. We can share our gospel testimony with them. So this morning, the music video is very simple. I know my Redeemer lives. Hope all you guys have a great day. We'll see you at church.
Who taught the sun where to stand in the morning? And who told the ocean you can only this far, and who showed the moon where to hide till evening, whose words alone can catch a falling star. Well, I know my Redeemer lives. I know my Redeemer lives. All of creation testifies this life within me cries. I know my Redeemer lives. Yeah, the very same God that spins things